Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda Minimalist Run. And we had just learned from the last Goron that there was a statue at the beginning of the dungeon, which we could affect with the Megaton Hammer, which a lot of people, including myself, did not notice the first time going in through the dungeon. So, yeah, you have to go back to the beginning of the dungeon to a small little area for the final Goron and, of course, the boss key. So, just a small room with a couple geese and torch slugs. Nothing to really worry about, except the geese, I think, is probably the more annoying and dangerous threat of anything in this room. So, you can kill the torch slugs with 2 arrows, or just smack them twice with your sword. Either way, these are actually very, very... Oh! And apparently those torch slugs, I just saw it flashing there. I guess if you leave them alone long enough, I guess they explode? I don't know. Ah, yes. And then the floor panels again. I'm so glad that you can block them with your shield this time. But given their proliferation in Link to the Past, I'm surprised that you don't see a lot more of them in Ocarina of Time. In fact, I think this is actually the only dungeon where they appear, which is funny. And then a golden Skulltula, amazingly out in the open. This is me trying to figure out what item I need. Because not only do you have to fight this mini-boss once, but twice. And he's exactly the same both times. So, let's count how many hits it takes to actually kill this thing. So far, we've got 2 hits on this guy. You can get about a good 4, maybe 5 hits if you're really good with what I'm doing right now. Either that or after 4 hits, he's pre-programmed to actually go into the fire and avoid you completely. So I guess maybe 4 hits. 4 hits if you're good. And that's twice now I got him hit 2 times before he's able to run away from me. So let's see if my theory holds true. Yep, after 4 hits, he'll go in for another round in the fire. And so it's red, blue, and green flames. He's going down a lot faster than the first one. The first one, I was still trying to figure out, hey, how do I beat this guy? It's been a while. It's been a while since I've played it. Then, of course, getting to back away from him before he explodes on you. You know, this dungeon required a lot more bombs than pretty much anything previously up to this point. Thankfully, you have enough bombs and upgrades to kind of make it through. And here is the final Goron. And with him, I don't think he gives you a tip. Yep, no tip. Because at this point, I don't think any point, other than in the original Zelda games where, you know, Dodongo dislikes smoke and things like that, or Digdogger hates sound, there isn't really any hints or tips on how to actually beat the dungeon boss other than what Navi gives you. And even then, that's barely anything in most cases. So, I wouldn't expect that Goron to give you any sort of tips for the actual boss of the temple. Now, obviously, this whole dungeon has been leading up to the fight with the dragon, which I don't think we fought any dragons in Link to the Past, or anything that I can recall that was a dragon. So, we just jump right across, straight from the pillar that we knocked down from before. And this is me trying to figure out if there was anything over here. Doesn't look like there's anything. So, continuing on through the boss door. And I don't know if you guys get this way during a game, But when I was young, and I knew this was coming, and it was all leading up to this dragon, I could feel like an inner sense of dread, you know? Like, I was shivering, and my teeth were clattering. Like, I was freezing in a house that was warm. And this usually happens when I go up against final bosses of most games. Like, I know what's coming. Well, I kind of don't, because it's my first time playing, but it's the uncertainty, the terror of not knowing what the game developers have in store for you, and if you're going to be able to beat this challenge that's coming up. So I remember the first time playing this game, I was literally just terrified trying to go after this boss. But in reality, he's fairly easy, but dang! Holy crap! Did you see that damage? That is 2 hearts worth of damage. That is a lot of health lost in one hit. So, there's 2 ways to beat this thing. Well, actually, there's 1 way, but there's an easy way and a fast way, or slow way. Fast and a slow way. There we go. That's what I want to say. The fast way is to hit him with nothing but the hammer. You hit him with the hammer, and I think it's only like 8 to 10 hits. But if you hit him with the hammer and then mix it up with the sword, it's going to take closer to 20 hits to bring the dragon down. So it's better to just hit with nothing but the hammer. So you can kill it quicker and sooner. I didn't really realize you could strike it with your sword. Back when I first played this game, I thought the only thing that could harm it was the hammer, because that's what everybody was saying, that, you know, Darunia was like, I don't have the hammer. I don't know how I'm going to beat this creature without the hammer. So it gave rise to the belief that you can only hurt this thing with the hammer. But no, you can hurt it with the sword. It just takes a lot longer, and it's not recommended. And for my first attempt, I did fairly good, despite the fact I got hit that errant first time. And this is where the battle actually gets tricky. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about in a couple seconds. Don't hit the tail. Don't hit any part of his body, or you're gonna die. So these next couple outtakes are pretty much me doing my best to try and face this guy and not die. So yeah, his fire breath is a one-shot kill if you have 3 hearts. His flaming hair or his attack when you touch any part of his body, that's like 2 hearts. But his flame attack, I don't even know how many hearts that takes away, but it's definitely at least 3 hearts. So Volvagia is a worthy opponent. He is a strong and powerful boss. He does a lot of damage. And for a minimalist run, that is a make or break situation, especially if you do a no-death run. He can make or break your run, for sure, if you're not careful. So, going back to what I was talking about, this is probably the worst part of the battle, is this part where he comes out and he starts circling around to try and hit you with his one-hit kill, his flame breath. And so you got to keep track of his flame breath and keep track of the back end of his tail. So, see, I almost got hit there. You got to be careful to kind of keep that perfect circle so that you don't touch his tail and you don't touch his flames. It's the trickiest part of this entire battle. So he'll come out of one of the 9 spots, and you just smack him on the head and then smack him again, and I think that's like double the hit, so I think we've already got like 8 damage on him already. Now he comes out the second time, and he goes up higher into the roof and starts dropping rocks down. And that part, that's easy, because you just stay off to the edge here, and you don't do anything else. You just keep to the edge, and the rocks will follow where his position is and where he's going to go. And now that we've done like 8 points of damage, he'll now shake up the rhythm a little bit. He'll appear in one area and then immediately go to a different hole. So he's trying to trick you. Because you think he's going to pop out of one hole, but nope, he's going to go somewhere else. And this actually gets worse over time. So now he's alternating back and forth. Every time he comes out, it's a mix between, alternating between trying to chase you down with his fire breath, which I'm getting really close, or dropping rocks on your head. And this is pretty much the whole battle. So let's see if he does 2 or 1 fake out or 2 fake outs. 1, 2. Oh, he's still down to 2, so we still got a lot of hit points left to get rid of. So we'll say that's 16 hit points if we do every hammer strike is 2 hits. Before I found out about this trick that you could just hang out to this edge of the platform and just avoid the rocks altogether, I was having trouble with this part where he was dropping rocks on my head. I was looking at the shadows of the rocks coming down, and I was zigzagging all over the place, and I was like, oh gosh, I can't do this. This is impossible. But you just hang out to the side, it's all good. So what are we at, like 20 hit points now? He has a crazy amount of hit points. Insane. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a dragon, and he should be pretty powerful, but geez. At this point, it's a battle of attrition. Can you get enough hits on him before he can get that one? Those flames, man. Yep, before he gets that one hit on you, which kills you. 1, 2. Oh, he switched. Oh, 4. Wow, that was pretty tricky. Oh, so 24 hit points. That's pretty powerful for a boss. So, I had a couple deaths on this guy. Not too bad. I wasn't actually expected to die on this guy, honestly, my first time. But then again, I wasn't really aware of how much damage he actually did. He does quite a lot of damage. And in true Zelda fashion, most bosses end with their heads being the final thing to be destroyed. The rest of their body dies, then you're left with the head. Grotesque. You see, that's kind of a running theme in Legend of Zelda games with bosses. You usually end up with their head. And if you had a rumble controller, you'd be feeling the rumbles right about now. And just like that, the fiery haze of smoke cloud is gone from Death Mountain. We have now solved all the issues and problems that were residing around Death Mountain. And thus, we find out Darunia is the Sage of Fire. I wonder what happened. Did he die? Did he fall in the lava? Because we know later in Majora's Mask, Gorons can survive through lava. So that wouldn't have killed him. So did the dragon eat him? I mean, you'll find out later that you discover all these sages after they supposedly died or met a bad fate. So I'm not sure if killing them, they're spiritual now. Like, these are their spiritual forms and their earthly bodies have died off. That's a good theory and an interesting one to explore in just casual thought and thinking about the game. But Darunia probably got ate by the dragon. Soraya, who knows what happened to her, which is kind of frightening if you think about it in the Forest Temple. We later will find the other sages, and certain bad things happen to them as well. But we come to see them that they're nice and perfectly intact when we see them in the Temple of Light, in the Chamber of Sages. So you gotta wonder if their earthly bodies were destroyed or killed off, and you're just seeing their spirit forms as sages. That the only way to awaken as a sage is to die. That's kind of nerve-wracking if you think about it like that. So now Goron City is a lively place again. Sorta. It still looks kind of empty, more or less. But now there's the usual hubbubaloo of all the Gorons just lounging about. I mean, I guess with the type of computational power that the Nintendo 64 had at that time, they couldn't really do too much with adding a lot of NPCs to villages and things like that. I mean, they could only put like maybe 6 or 7 different models, character NPC models all throughout the village, and then after that it's like, and we ran out of memory. We can't do anything more. In fact, there was a game called Aiden Chronicles, The First Mage. I have that game. Yeah. That game was supposed to be a lot bigger. It was supposed to be more expansive. It was supposed to be like a Elder Scrolls Morrowind type of game. But in the end, the memory requirements of the Nintendo 64 and of the cartridge was too small. And the original vision was lost. And they had to make a lot of cuts. And in the end, the game was nowhere near the original vision of what it should have been. And so this kind of reminds me of that. There was probably a lot more they wanted to put in the game, but they couldn't. But what they did do was amazing for the time. So, we're done with this part. Just like I mentioned before in an earlier video, now we gotta kind of trace our path like we did for our young kid version, Child Link. We now have to go to the next section and sequence, which would be the Zora River. Now we go visit the Zoras and retrace our path as an adult. And of course, I use my horse, which isn't really necessary in a minimalist run, but hey, I like having fun. I like riding my horse, gosh darn it. And with this, we're actually coming up on our time for the end of this video. So, we're going to enter into Zora River and see what the heck happened to the Zoras in the next video. Until then, see you later, everybody.